You tune into the Sportscast with Brian, Craig, and Jeff. Give you all the sports news you need. We give you outspoken thoughts about all the headlines. We talk baseball, football, hockey, and more. No matter the topic, we cover it. Get ready for the show and keep it outspoken. Keep it outspoken. We keep it outspoken only on the Sportscast. Tune into the Sportscast with Brian, Craig, and Jeff. Give you all the sports news you need.
EA Sports. It's in the game.
Well, we finally made it to San Diego. Now let's head into the stadium for Super Bowl 32. Hi, I'm John Madden. Welcome to Madden NFL 98.
All right, guys, welcome into the Outspoken Sportscast here, episode number 93. Me and Jeff are back, and this is your John Madden edition here. As we, the spotlight of the week is about John Madden, and he passed. What now? It's been a little bit, been about 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about John Madden when we first here in the show, and kind of what he meant to us and his coaching career. And Jeff, it's funny because he's always said he's wanted to be remembered as a coach, but I don't remember him as a head coach. That was before my time. But John Madden, he was a fantastic head coach. He coached the Raiders for 10 years. He won a Super Bowl. He was 112-39-7, and he still has the highest winning percentage of any coach to reach 100 wins. He has the winning percentage average of 771. So fantastic as a head coach. And guys, if you haven't watched the documentary yet, it's called All Madden, and it came out Christmas Day, and I was able to watch that. And John Madden ended up passing away 3 days after that came out. But if you haven't watched the documentary, go watch it. It's fantastic. Jeff, have you been able to sit down and watch that?
I haven't, unfortunately. I wasn't sure where to find it either. I wasn't sure if it was on demand on like ESPN or NFL Network or if it was on one of the streaming platforms. So, but I definitely am going to take the time to actually watch that and And I was gonna watch it, and then he passed, and I was like, come on, like that's just.
It's kind of like he was waiting for that to come on there, and you learned a lot of good things about John Madden and John as a head coach. He reached the AFC Championship game 7 out of his 10 years, which is pretty crazy. They did go to the Super Bowl. He does have one ring as they beat the Minnesota Vikings in that championship. But this talks about him as a head coach, and it also, I think it's a 2-hour thing when you guys go watch it. And it goes into, after he retired, he goes into the broadcast booth, and he really didn't think he would like it, and he really didn't like broadcasting, and he didn't like the guys that didn't think they were doing football the right way, and so he goes into broadcasting, loves it, and he became the guy. And Madden, to me, Jeff, what was so fantastic about him, not that I knew him, but when I grew up watching the game as a young child, Madden was the voice of the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And he had such a way of teaching you the game of football, and where everyone could understand it. And I think that, to me, was why he made it, for my life, one of the best broadcasters. Is he broke down the game for you. He brought in different elements that no one talked about. He was one of the first to start breaking down the offensive line, the big men, the defensive line, breaking up holes and he always draw on that screen. He had all lines and the boom and the bang and and if you go watch the documentary, it talks about how just he had one of those bigger than life characteristics or characters, and he was genuine. But yeah, you cannot say much more about this guy. This guy is, if there is a Mount Rushmore on the NFL, John Madden's there.
Oh yeah,
that's how big of impact he had on the game, today, and back in the day as well. So
yeah, like he's basically immortalized in the NFL as the I was surprised actually to know how long it took for him to get into the Hall of Fame. I thought I could have sworn he should have been in there way sooner than he got in. But Pat Summerall and John Madden are the reasons why I tuned in, and it was a fun, exciting duo. And Pat Summerall was one of my favorite sportscasters ever in terms of football. John Madden was right there with him. And them two, those two tandems were just like, if you were not watching football, if you were not hearing those two talk, and he reminds me, there was a broadcaster but he was more of a stadium broadcaster, announcer for the Yankees, and he did it for a long, long time, even during the era of Babe Ruth. And so he reminds me of that. And so he's when you hear his voice, you know what you're doing, you know what you're watching, and the game you're watching is prime time. And so whether it's the Super Bowl, whether it's playoff games, something, every time you hear that voice, even, anytime I'd hear it during even like the Thanksgiving Day games and stuff, it was just like, okay, here we go. This is comfort. So yeah, it was just a crazy thing. I knew he was out of the limelight for a while. Obviously he retired many years ago. But there's not going to be a person like that, I don't think, ever. I know now you have Tony Romo and you have Joe Buck, and it's not the same. So it's just whatever we had growing up as kids watching the game was special. And I definitely, when Pat Summerall finished up his career in 2001, I think it was right after the Patriots. I think it was the year the Patriots won, when Tom Brady was part of right when he started, that Pat Summerall left, and then John Madden left a few years later after that. And I think when that happened, it was kind of like, the party, you kind of just, died a little bit. So you were just like, what am I going to listen to? And honestly, I will say this much: brought the sportscasters since then just haven't measured. So there's still something missing. Maybe it's the voice, maybe it's the personality a little bit. He took himself seriously, obviously, but he also joked. And I think that and you had a lot of the there was one clip I was actually while I was figuring out what to do for the intro or whatever, and I was looking at some other video clips and things like that, and so there was a video where he was talking about Troy Aikman, and he was like, he doesn't have he can't grow a beard, and he was sitting there drawing lines on his face, and and I was just like, you got to have some kind of fun there, and that's what he brought, and then he also brought the serious aspect. He did know the game, and he was a master of the craft, so of the actual sport itself. So he will forever be remembered as by far one of the best analysts, sportscasters, and just love for the game itself people ever that's ever graced the NFL itself, and probably for of all time, honestly, by far.
Right. And exactly, like I don't watch a game, I watch football because I like football. Back in the day, I would, you got to find the game that Madden is calling. Like I wanted to listen to John Madden and Pat Summerall. They're my two favorite of all time. And nowadays, I don't really care. I don't look up who's calling the game. I don't care. It's football. A lot of people don't like Troy Aikman and Joe Buck. I think they're great. It got so many different people, and they change them in and out, trying to find that next big thing. And Tony Romo was he's calling out plays. Look at this. He knows. But it won't ever compare to John Madden and that larger than life kind of personality. It goes through and talks about what's his name? They talk to different players about John Madden, and they said that I played better when I knew John Madden was watching. When John Madden was calling our games, he made me a better football player. And John Madden, they have the all-pro teams and stuff. Well, John back in the day made his all-Madden team. And it was guys that played the game like he thought should have been played hard and physical. And he would go and make his list and pick his players. And the players talked about how much such an honor was to be on the all-Madden list and to be named there. And they were talking about how they should take that all-pro list and they should change the name to the all-Madden list for him. And just a great guy. And he had the Madden Cruiser. Jeff Madden was actually terrified of flying. He did not want to fly. Yeah. And he took a bus, and they call it the Madden Cruiser, and he drove around to the different stadiums to call these games. And they talk about how he would just stop at a random shop or a random hole in the wall country cafe and eat. And he would talk to anybody like he knew you. And just that type of guy, man. And it was sad that he passed away. But his kids were on there. He has two sons. And just talking about how great of a dad he was as well, not only as a Hall of Fame head coach and a Hall of Fame broadcaster, but a Hall of Fame dad as well. And then Jeff, we got Madden, the video game, of course, that everyone plays. And this was great when it first came out. We've seen the different evolutions of Madden. And when they first came to Madden about it, they actually went to two other people about putting them on the cover and making it about them, or making the game with their name on it, and they turned it down. They came to John Madden and they said, and this is in that documentary, and they said, we're going to play, we want you to be on the football game. And he said, great. And they said it was going to be like 5-on-5 or 7-on-7 or something. Like they couldn't make a game yet where there is now, 11-on-11 in actual football. And John Madden said, no, that's not football. If it's not 11-on-11, it's not football. And they said, well, it's going to take about 2 or 3 years till we can get that. And he said, well, then it takes 2 or 3 years. Madden wanted it done right. Madden didn't want if he wanted real football
Simulation football.
on a screen that you could
Yeah.
play. So, and we all grew up and we all played and we all had Michael Vick. What was that, 2006 or 7 or 5?
Yes.
And everyone, even though I'm a Green Bay fan,
OP Vic.
you chose Michael Vick. And I'd go to some houses and they would ban you from picking Michael Vick and the Falcons because it was such a cheat code. And we all had fun. And every year you kind of look forward to who's going to be on the cover this year. And they go through some players too and talk about how it was such an honor it was to be on the cover. And Lamar Jackson's in there talking about that. And I went and picked up, the one with Brett Favre on it just because it had Brett Favre on it. And so that game was huge for kids, and huge on our childhood there, Jeff. And
oh yeah,
and huge not only that, but it also you were able to learn the game a little bit more playing Madden.
And
learning different things.
Speaking of that, I mean that's one of the reasons and one of the ways I actually learned the game of football. My dad was he didn't really he kind of we watched it. But anytime I had questions, it was kind of like, I'm watching the game, or whatever. So it was really short. And so what I ended up doing is when I started actually trying to learn it, I just played it. By playing it, I did learn the fundamentals of the game to some degree, the rules and everything, and even all the different positions and stuff like that. And as I played more, and as I played, I watched more. And so that kind of introduced me into really paying attention to football itself and understanding, the passion behind it and why people really enjoy it and love it and everything. So, I mean, if it really wasn't for the game, I probably may not have watched the game any. So I probably would have not been interested. But yeah, because of Madden football, the game itself, it solidified that in me as being a fan of the game outside of the actual video game. So it's a huge thing. I remember playing. I remember, people would just, people took it so serious. They used to have tournaments at different video game stores. I know EB Games had tournaments all the time. They had competitions where you'd win X number of stuff if you could beat the people in the tournament, local tournament. And I mean, I think at one point, even as kids, Brian and I were like, let's see if we can actually go into one of those. I don't know if we ever figured out how to do it, but we that would have been interesting to see both of us try to compete with some of those guys, especially early on. I think we may have been able to give them a run for their money. Maybe not now because they just take it so seriously, but
there's people that play that all day, every day. That's their job.
But when we were kids, I guarantee you, when we were in middle school, I bet we could have taken a few people out for sure. But yeah, his name is forever not only solidified in the game of football itself, but in video games forever. I just want EA to do this game justice. The next Madden game needs to knock it out of the park. We need to get this name back in relevancy and do it justice. I mean, honestly, his name's on it. Do it justice.
You know what they need to do is the next game needs to be a all Madden Legends edition.
Yeah,
I think that would be sick to bring back.
That would be
where
cool.
You can play with the legends. And one thing, it's funny. One thing that me and John Madden shared in common is a love for Brett Favre. And I love Brett Favre. I love watching him play, and that's exactly the reason why I'm a Green Bay fan. And you could tell when he broadcasted a Brett Favre game that he loved Brett Favre, and he loved how he played the game, and he saw a lot of himself in Brett Favre. And they actually on the documentary, they had Brett Favre on there, and they had talked a little bit about that, and they had a respect for each other, and that's that's something else I can relate to, John. I think a lot of people love watching Brett Favre, but you could tell when John was broadcasting, not that he was biased against or towards Brett Favre, but he always had fun broadcasting the Packer games and watching and broadcasting for those Brett Favre games. So That was cool to hear too, and it doesn't get better than Madden and Pat. Does not get better than those two.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, Jeff. Well, one more thing about Madden. I didn't know that he actually stayed on with the NFL for a while on the safety board to make
Wow,
the game
okay.
safer. So he's I think always kind of been there. And I don't know when he stopped doing that, but he might have
That's
still
good.
been on it. But
Yeah, that's good.
What
He's
was
still,
happening?
still, even in his later years, like still, it never failed. The passion never failed, and thinking of the players and thinking of the game itself never stopped. So that's
Right.
awesome.
All right, Jeff. Well, it is time. It is time for the headlines of the week.
All right.
All right, Jeff, the headlines of the week. We got through 5 top headlines this week. Number 1, Aaron Rodgers. Jeff, did you hear about this? Aaron Rodgers calls out a reporter who said he won't vote for Rodgers because Rodgers is a jerk and a bad human. And
well, he's a bad human. He's a bad man, according to some.
He is a
According to people.
bad man, Jeff. On
Legend has it that he is a bad man.
On his how good he plays the game of football. Aaron Rodgers didn't hold back, Jeff. He did not hold back. He said that the reporter's a bum, that he shouldn't be able to vote. He said that this guy in the offseason,
So bums can't vote? That's not right.
In the offseason made up his mind that Aaron Rodgers, he's not going to vote for Aaron Rodgers. And let me guess, he is from Chicago, so he's a Bears beat reporter.
Mm-hmm.
Look, okay, if you're going to vote for the MVP, it should be on who deserves to be MVP, on their stats, their play on the play on the field, not because Aaron Rodgers is not vaccinated, not because of politics. It should be because he deserves it, right? I mean, that's only fair. Just the same thing when they go into Hall of Fame voting with the whole Terrell Owens debacle. The play on the field is what you should vote for, not the politics, not what happens in locker rooms. It's about stats. And Terrell Owens is by far probably the second best wide receiver to ever play the game.
Yeah.
Top 3 at least. He deserved to be in their first ballot. But they waited so long because it's politics. MVP voting should and only be based on what that person does that year. That's it.
I'm voting for Dak. So
get out of here. He dropped out of there a long time ago. To me, it's between Rodgers and Tom Brady. In honest opinion, I can see him going. I can see it going to either one. They want to throw Jonathan Taylor in there, and Jonathan Taylor's had a fantastic season. Running backs, wide receivers will never win the MVP. It goes to the quarterback.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah,
unless the running back has 3,000 yards and it's just like, oh my gosh. The reason everyone, when you talk about MVP. The reason why a wide receiver will never win it is because the wide receiver is the most dependent position. That if Cooper Kupp has 1,600 yards, well, Matthew Stafford, has how many? He goes to those stats and they're dependent on the quarterback. The running back is dependent on the offensive line. The quarterback is just dependent on where he throws the ball.
Right.
And I guess you got to have guys who catch it, but it's basically the MVP is basically quarterback award, and it's the way it is. It's the way it probably always will be.
Well, the other issue that people need to understand or maybe take a look at is maybe even removing this dude's rights to vote. If he's gonna vote not on the actual play itself, and he's gonna vote on either politics or favoritism, or whatever,
Mhm.
then you shouldn't vote at that point. The whole reason that you have the right to do that, especially when it comes to MVP voting, is that you can ignore the fact that either you have a dislike towards someone, dislike towards a team, dislike, you have to be able to just push that to the side. If you cannot push that to the side, then the right to vote would be would not be granted. I don't think. It's just not. You can't do that. It's different. I don't think fans vote. I know sometimes the NBA fans have a little bit of a sway, but fans typically will vote no matter what. Typically, on their guy. But when it comes to this kind of panel, it's supposed to be non-biased. So if I'm voting and I don't like the Cowboys or whatever, I'm not going to vote for Dak, even though Dak's the guy and he's the MVP candidate and he's got all these great numbers. It would be absolutely ridiculous for me to go, well, but I'm not a fan, so it doesn't make
Right.
sense. You gotta just go with what's on the field, and whatever is on the field is what's showing you that. That's what you go with.
And even if you feel that way, even if you are like, I'm not voting for this guy because I hate him,
Mhm.
how dumb are you to come out and say it?
That's true. Yeah.
How dumb are you to come out and put it out there? And look, I thought about this when this went down, and we were getting in the year we're getting that he was going to be the MVP, or he was high favorite to be MVP, and I thought in the back of my head before these stories even came out about, will they even allow it? Will they allow it? So I guess we'll see at the end of the day if they do. I think he deserves the MVP. If not, then Tom Brady's the only other person I think could, at his age, doing what he's doing. But well, I guess we'll have to just wait and see.
Time will tell. We'll see.
Time definitely will tell. All right, Jeff. Well, this one's been the on the front burner of the league this week. Antonio Brown. Did you see his tantrum he threw on the sideline?
I did. Yes.
Antonio Brown tosses jersey into the stands, ripped off his shoulder pads, pieced out in the middle of a game, and ran into the locker room and left. We don't know the whole story, Jeff. We probably will never know the whole story. Antonio Brown says he was too hurt to go in the game. Bruce Arians, he said that Bruce Arians came over there and was yelling at him and really mad that he wasn't in the game. And he said, I can't go in because I'm hurt. And Bruce Arians said, you're done. Get the hell out of here. And that's when Brown left. Brown said he didn't quit. He was let go from the Bucs. The crazy thing too, the crazy thing about this, Jeff, is look, we all know Antonio Brown's past, and we all know he has some issues, okay, to say the least. But I tend to believe him here.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to believe him in this story. I think Bruce Arians is well, I can't say that word on this podcast, Jeff. This is a family-friendly podcast, but I believe he's a jerk. I believe he's the a-hole. I believe Antonio Brown on this, but there was rumors that Antonio Brown was mad because they didn't want to play him, or they didn't want to play him because of the incentives and give him the money. But then Bruce Arians comes out and says he refused to go in the game. So how is it if he refused to go to the game? You know what I mean? Like that doesn't back it up of, well, if I trying to put him in the game, he's refusing, then that doesn't make any sense if he wants that extra money. I believe he's hurt. Now the Bucs said, look, come to our facilities. Let's take a picture of your ankle. Let's take an x-ray of your ankle. Let's get this out there. Antonio Brown refused to do so. So they ended up just basically cut him. He'll probably have surgery in the offseason, and someone will pick him up, Jeff, next season because he's still producing on the football field.
Yeah, my only problem with it is there's always something.
There
you
is.
Go back and you go and look at the track record. There was a problem in Oakland. Well, we know there was a lot of problems in Oakland. Now, so there was issues in Oakland. There weren't there issues in New England, or what happened with that? I know he was only there for like a little bit.
Oh yeah, he had a big blowout with his ex, and something happened, and they ended up letting him go.
Okay.
Um,
So there was some off the field issue there. Um, did he start in Oakland? Or was he with the Steelers?
he
Yeah,
started with Steelers.
Steelers.
Yep.
Okay,
And
so there was
then
issues with the Steelers and Mike Tomlin. I don't know what's going on. Honestly, it reminds me a lot of what happened in Pittsburgh. It really does.
Yeah.
Because the way he was talking about in Pittsburgh was, oh well, coach, I'm hurt, and Mike Tomlin was like, we need to win this game and be in the playoffs. I'm hurt, then get out. And Mike Tomlin, no nonsense. I can tell he's that kind of coach. No nonsense. He would immediately tell a player to leave. Go to the locker room then. You're off for the day. And I think maybe this kind of reminds me of that a little bit. The only thing is that Antonio Brown saying he's injured or I'm hurt. There's a lot of people hurt. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is playing with a bum toe. A lot of players are playing hurt today in the league in the NFL going into wild card weekend. And so it's kind of, I know we're not getting a lot of the right information from everybody. That I guarantee you there's some stuff not being said or talked about, but based on the track record, it's hard to sit there and immediately go after the coach and everything when he has a track record of causing a little bit of a disruption. And whether it be locker room disruption, whether it be whatever, I don't know, but it's not good to see a player go to a place, have some issues, go to a place, have some issues, go to a place, have some issues.
Right. And I don't, I mean, he's out there basically saying that, going after Tom Brady and all that crap is ridiculous. Do I, if I'm a head coach and a player says, Coach, I'm too hurt, I can't play, it might annoy you, but the guy can't play.
Right.
Let's figure out what's wrong. Antonio Brown says that the Bucs try to cover up his injury. It's been reported. He sent out text messages between Bucs and I don't know. But he says he has some bone fragments in his ankle that are broken, and that's it's very painful and yada yada yada. So I don't know. I tend to believe Antonio Brown in this case, just as of the coach got so mad at him because he refused to go in because he's in pain that he was like, "You're gone." But I don't think that was you're off the team right this second. I think that it was just some frustration that the coaches put out there. But I'm not a big fan of Bruce Arians, and it is what it is. But to do that, to throw a tantrum like that and I hope no one picks him up. I don't care if he's still producing on the field. That is insane. Insane.
Yeah.
Who does that?
Somebody probably will, I think, maybe. I don't know who will, but I know somebody probably might do that to kind of gain some buzz and put some butts in the seats, so to speak. I could see somebody like Philly, or I could see somebody like, maybe Tennessee. Tennessee needs some firepower offensively outside of the running back situation, and I think adding a premier wide receiver, because he's still in his prime, to some degree. He can still produce. I mean, you can't even ignore the fact that even Tampa Bay has a 7-0 record when Antonio Brown's on the field. When he's off the field, they don't really have that. They don't have a very good winning record when he's off. So that kind of shows something as well, that he would definitely be taking to any team and saying, hey, well, look, Tom Brady's good, but he's good when I'm on the field. And so you can't argue that. But as arrogant as that might sound, the stats prove that. So I could see somebody picking him up, testing it out. And honestly, the second I think if anything happens again, his career's over.
Well, that's a sad thing about the NFL and sports in general. As long as you can produce, as long as you can help win, then it really doesn't matter what you do morally.
Yeah. If he was not producing, he's done.
Yeah.
He's done. There's no way. Not only is he not producing, but he's causing disruption. No one's going to put up with that. No one's going to put up with that
It's
at all.
It's a locker room cancer, and so
Yeah.
causes all these dramas. But all right, Jeff. Well, I'm going to let you take this one. I'm going to ask you this question on our headline number 3, and I put this one in here because I knew this is one you've been wanting to talk about. After the terrible play by the Dallas Cowboys against the Cardinals last Sunday, now that the Cowboys did beat the Eagles last night, but it's the Eagles are bad. Should the Cowboys be worried that they cannot compete with playoff teams? Should that be a worry? Should that be concern for the Dallas Cowboy fans out there that they are not beating or they are not playing playoff teams, and when they do, they tend to struggle?
Okay. So, I knew the Cowboys were going to destroy this team. I don't think anyone knew. There were so many. You got Minshew out there. You don't have Jalen Hurts. What? Not like there's a huge difference, but still, Jalen Hurts has, I think, is more athletic than Gardner Minshew. But outside of that, you kind of knew going into this. The only part that was surprising was how this kind of showed how bad the Eagles really are.
Oh,
because the Cowboys, no, they were bad, but this shows how worse they are. They went up against a defense that was anemic. Okay, let's just say they don't have Parsons. They don't have a lot of key players defensively, which was going into it. I was like, okay, well, that's going to be a problem. That takes away a lot of attack there.
Well, you got to remember too.
There were some people on COVID protocol too.
Eagles didn't play their starting quarterback either.
Yes, Jalen Hurts did not play. Gardner Minshew played. So what I don't understand is, like, you knew going into this with mostly that the Cowboys will probably win this game. I think what surprised most people is how much and it showed how much they won by. Not only how much they won by, but how bad the Eagles are. O-line, I don't think was all that great. It looked like the Cowboys just ran all over that defense. Not ran over, but just tore them apart through the air. I mean, I think Dak Prescott had 5 TDs. It was just but you're not surprised. So this is the Cowboys season in a nutshell. You see these games where it's like 50 some points, completely just schooled out one team. And let's not forget, the Cowboys did the same thing the game before the Cardinals. Everybody thought they were back. Everybody thought this offense was back. Everybody blah, blah, blah. And then they go against the Cardinals. What happened to the offense? What happened to that explosive offense? That
they didn't show up for 3 quarters.
Yes. So if I sit there and I've coined, no pun intended, I've coined the phrase, the coin flip Cowboys this season, because this is who they are. You don't know who you're going to get when they get on the field. You have a lot of sports analysts right now, as of yesterday, even with a win, they said, because they never thought that the Eagles were going to win this game. I don't think anybody did. I think some haters out there probably, I'm maybe a little bit one of them, wanted to see maybe. But I'm realistic, though. I knew the Cowboys were going to win this game. Even with the win, you had sports analysts saying, do you trust them in the first round of the playoffs? Almost every one of them said no. I don't trust this team, because at any part you could have them, you could be riding high on them, and then all of a sudden they just go in there and it's like the offense doesn't know how to play. Dak's overthrowing people, underthrowing people, doesn't know how to get the ball to the correct spots. He's waiting too long to throw the ball. Then he throws it and the defender's already there. It's like he didn't see him, throws a pick. Zeke doesn't know how to freaking get out of his own way. The offensive line can't create holes for him. The running game is non-existent. There are so many problems. And then you have the one issue that has been plaguing this defense this season that nobody talks about. And it's the one guy that everyone keeps saying, oh, this is the guy, is Diggs. I'll say this much about Diggs, and this is what I've consistently seen about him. You double move on him, he's done. He's done. Double move on Diggs, and he gets beat almost every time. I saw it against the Broncos. I saw it against the Broncos 3 times. Sutton double moved on him, and Diggs was off. And then you go back and you look at the Cardinal game, and they double moved on him again.
Well, and that play should have been a touchdown if the quarterback got the ball out there in the right spot. But he's so aggressive that when you double move on him, he bites on the fake and then right past him.
I'm telling you, if teams pick up on that, I cannot argue with the fact that it's possible the Cowboys will bounce in the first round. It's possible because you can't rule it out. You just can't.
Now, no, you can't rule it out. Obviously, I don't think there's a. Look. I feel really fantastic about Green Bay this season. I felt really good last year as well when we got to the NFC Championship game as far as we went. I don't think there's a favorite in the NFC right now. Well, there's 3. I think there's 3 teams that have a chance to win, and the Cowboys are sitting on that fine line for the 4th team. The Cowboys more than likely will finish in the 4th seed, and they'll face the Arizona Cardinals in the first round of the playoffs again.
Right.
DeAndre Hopkins is a big key for the Arizona Cardinals, and you can tell without him on the field, the offense looks not as explosive.
Right.
And I don't know if he's going to be back. We don't know if he's going to be back in the playoffs. I think, though, Jeff, if Cowboys play the Cardinals first round without DeAndre Hopkins, I think Cowboys move on. I think they will beat them. I don't hesitate to say
so.
that.
My question to you is: when the Cowboys lost against the Cardinals this last time, did they have people on COVID protocol? The Cardinals. I mean, I'm not talking key starters.
Well, I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so.
I thought there was I was pretty sure I'd heard there were some key defensive players that were not in that game that were COVID protocols. At least 4 or 5.
I'm not sure. It could be it.
Okay.
The Cowboys showed up in the 4th quarter, and that was it. Okay,
right.
And you can't do that in the league. Of course, the Cowboys are blaming the refs like they normally do.
Right.
The Cowboy fans, but you cannot show up in only three games. Or 3 quarters and show up in the 4th and think you deserve to win the football game.
I will tell you this much. If the Cowboys lose, just like they lost against the Cardinals, if they lose again to the Cardinals, you can also blame the coaching staff. Because I'll tell you this much. He burned that timeout. And I get why he did it. But that came to bite him. Because he could not challenge that play on the sidelines, which he should have challenged the play on the sidelines. But he couldn't. A lot of fans got frustrated with that. And they're like, what's going on with the refs? But guess what? Mike McCarthy burned a timeout, and that was it. That timeout caused him to not be able to challenge that play.
Well, look, first of all, there's 2 complaints on that play from Cowboy fans. The delay of game. Now, look,
right.
The delay of game, it was not atrocious. There's been plenty of times the clock hit 0.
Yes.
And they still allow him to snap the ball.
I've seen that before.
It's not bang, bang, 0, boom, penalty. So that I only want to hear about that. The second one, the fumble, it was a fumble when we look back at it, but it was so bang, bang. The guy was pretty much this far off the ground. The ball came out. I mean,
right.
He's going to be called down. Your head coach burned a timeout. Your head coach did not have any more timeouts and could not challenge. Therefore, there. But I was talking about buddy Ryan Sims, and I'm not I think Coach McCarthy's getting a free ride, Jeff. Okay. Kellen Moore's calling the offense. The defense is ran by Dan Quinn. I don't know what Mike McCarthy brings to the table, except time management, and he's not that great at that. But I told my buddy Ryan, Coach McCarthy's time management will cost you a game this year. And it cost him this game.
Mm-hmm.
It cost him this game. Burning timeouts when you don't need to, not having that challenge. It cost them a chance to win this football game. But the Cowboys, in that game, Dak was off. Dak looked confused.
Yeah.
And even Troy Aikman was pointing this out. They look like they are blitzing. And they drop back into too deep safety. They look like they have too deep safety. They blitz. Like there's a way to confuse Dak Prescott. And they didn't make any adjustments or something didn't click until the fourth quarter. And that was just too late. So look, beating up, and I get this. You don't make the schedule. So when you go in, you place an easy team and you whoop up on them. Cool, a win's a win. But I'm not going to sit here and say you're going to the Super Bowl because you blew out the horrible Eagles. You blew out the horrible Giants. I'm not going to. We saw you play a good defense. The Arizona Cardinals have a good defense. And you lost that game and you only put up 22 points? 21 points?
Yeah.
You didn't throw 30, you didn't throw 40, you didn't throw 50.
No, they didn't. They definitely didn't ball out. And I think that's where I don't. That's kind of where I'm coming from, because as much as we want to sit here and blame Mike McCarthy, we want to sit here and blame all these other things, refs. There's no justifying that Dak has not been on this year. Something's wrong.
Oh, no.
There's also no justifying that the running game has been either they've abandoned running game sometimes, it seems like it, or either that or they don't trust it. And if they don't trust it, what does that say? What does that say about paying Zeke the money he's getting paid? What does that say about your O-line? It just seems like there's no trust in the run game, and they're really, really trying to put everything on Dak.
The run game was pathetic against the Cardinals. They had Dak Prescott was your leading rusher in that game. That's how bad it was.
Get the same. Look, that's the least team that you need to worry about in the NFC now. Yeah. Not to say that the Cardinals are trash, because they're not. But in terms of actual what you're going to see, the best of the best of the best, this is the least of the best. Yep. And this is what you produced with the least of the best in your home. Now you're on the road, and you're going to face the best. You're going to face, the possibility of facing, Green Bay in Lambeau. You're going to be facing Tom Brady in Tampa, possibly. You're going to be facing the best of the best. These teams are not going to hold back. They're going to give you everything they got. And if the Cardinals have issues where they didn't give you the best. And honestly, I don't think the Cardinals did.
Oh,
you also don't forget about the Rams either. The Rams, that's another one. But and so they're starting to kind of heat up a little bit at the end. If Matt Stafford could get out of his own head. But the thing is though, with that being said, that's not the best you saw.
No. The Cardinals did not impress me whatsoever.
No, not in that game.
Not at all in that game.
I mean,
there's more to be desired from Dallas Cowboys when they play good teams. And I don't know if Dak can be confused easily. I don't know. They've got to have a better rushing attack than they've had, because that game it was all on Dak and he looked off. I mean, he missed some wide open wide receivers. It was a bad game. They did beat the Eagles last night and confidence flying high, but they played the Eagles. And look, my buddy, I keep giving him grief. I go, because the NFC East is the worst division, in my opinion, in football. Yes. And he'll go, well, the Eagles, we're going to have 2 playoff teams. Okay, this is the first year that's ever happened for you guys. Usually Minnesota, I tell them all the time, Minnesota is way better than any other team in your division. Other than Dallas, you look at the other 3, Minnesota is more talented and better than the Eagles and all that. So don't get me, because he has our division super easy. I'm like, we play the Lions. Yes, the Lions are easy. The Vikings, yes, and the Bears. The Vikings are talented. To me, they're better than any other team in the NFC East. You just got lucky that the Eagles made the playoffs this year. The Eagles are trash. They're garbage.
So I'm going to give you
good.
I'm going to give you an example here. Okay. Anybody who's watching who's a Cowboy fan, I'm going to give you an example of something. The Broncos are garbage. We have a great defense, right? We have good defense. We have good secondary. They built this team, especially this year, defensive first, defensive minded. We have great weapons on offense, but we have nothing to facilitate those weapons. We beat you pretty badly. And I'm sitting there going, that's weird. And then the next week, we got our butts kicked against the Eagles. And so what you have to sit there and say to yourself is, how did this happen? How did all of a sudden a team who embarrassed you in your home go back to Denver and get absolutely trounced by the Eagles? A team that you just basically whooped.
Yeah.
This is why I coined them coin flip Cowboys this year. This is what they've been doing all year, where it's like, you never know what you're going to get. Open up the box of chocolates. What's going to happen? Are we going to win? Are we going to lose? I don't know. Like, it's just, you can't trust it. You can't bet on them. I don't know any Cowboy fan who's like, I'll give this much. Any Cowboy fan out there, bet your house. Bet your house they win their first playoff game this year. They win a playoff game this year. Bet it. I don't know if anyone takes the bet.
I mean, hey, look, if they're playing the Cardinals game 2, I think they win it.
You would bet your home.
Hell no. I wouldn't bet my home on the Green Bay Packers.
So I would bet your home on a Green Bay Packers winning a playoff game. Come on. A playoff game.
Look, if everything falls forward here, okay, look, the playoffs, if the playoffs end it today, it's pretty much going to stay the same in the NFC. Green Bay's already locked up number 1, the Rams at 2, Bucs at 3, and the Dallas Cowboys at 4, Cardinals at 5, and then the 6 and 7 is all to be determined. The Philadelphia Eagles will be number 7, I believe. And if the 49ers win and the Saints lose, if the 49ers win, they're in. If the 49ers lose and the Saints lose, the 49ers are still in. So, but if the Saints win and the 49ers lose, the Saints will be in that 6th spot. But so going forward into the playoffs, so that's how it finishes. And Tampa and the Rams don't lose in round 1. The Cowboys will come to Green Bay round 2 and face Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau Field. And that is a tough ask for a team, for any team, but that'll be the round 2 matchup. So it'll and look, if the Cowboys play to their full potential, like we've seen sometimes this year, they can beat just about anybody. But will that team show up? That has yet to be determined on a consistent basis against good football teams.
And that's what analysts have been saying all season. This team could be Super Bowl bound. This team has potential to be, but the potential is words. And what you see on the field, since Dak has been back from that injury, something looks off.
Well, it's that injury and then the calf injury and then
the calf injury, something.
You know,
I don't know what it is either. I don't know if it's mental or not, because the way he played yesterday, what the heck? What injury? It's like, well, then how do you justify the Cardinal game? How do you justify?
He was confused.
How do you justify
Confused.
against the Broncos? How do you justify against some of these other games where you go scratching your head? Like, what?
Vance Joseph confused Dak Prescott against Arizona Cardinals. So it was
Kansas
a good
City
defensive,
right? Like, how do you justify? I mean, Kansas City, what is it? They scored a touchdown or something like that. And then you take a look and you go, well, that's, what's going on there? Well, I mean, that's weird because the Broncos scored more than that. Like,
Broncos should have won that game the other day.
Right, they should have. But I mean, the Broncos scored more than the Cowboys did against Kansas City. How do you justify that? It's like, this is the most bipolar team I've ever seen in my life. Like, it's just so weird, dude. If I was a fan, I would be pulling my hair out, not knowing what I'm going to get every week, knowing that I have the talent to get it done every week.
Yep. All right, Jeff, let's go ahead. We're going to jump down to the next one here, and let's jump to number 5 real quick because it's still football related.
Okay.
Number 5 is the NFL has announced this week that they are looking around to change the Super Bowl. They were looking around for Super Bowl contingencies amid COVID spike to different states' rules about attendance while the pandemic continues forward. This makes sense. At first I was like, why are they moving it? But when I looked into it, it's just basically in case the state shuts down again, because it's in LA this year, and we all know how California is with the COVID, and they've shut down the state for a long, long time, and they don't allow certain numbers of attendances and stadiums. So this makes sense for the NFL to go, hey, if they do shut it down, we're going to have to move the Super Bowl because they want as many folks to go as possible. Dallas has been mentioned in there on that list because Texas is pretty open and doesn't matter here. So,
hang on.
I
got one thing here. We have a.
Oh, do we got?
We have a.
Oh no!
Okay,
Way.
so
Okay.
I will sit here and let's. I know we were talking about. We'll get right back to that, but this has never happened before.
Breaking! We have a comment off YouTube. Someone watching our show. Jackson laughs on YouTube says, "As a Cowboys fan, I fully agree. Dak can't win a game that they're not favored." Interesting here. Interesting, and that's I think that's been the biggest thing about Dak is, can he win the big games? Can he do it? And Dak Prescott, we talked about the excuse, he's always had a good running back, a good offensive line. He's had weapons. This is the best offense.
It's the same one.
This is the best offense. I thought we had more. Oh, okay. This is the best offense he's going to have. I mean, the offensive line's been a little shaky this year. They still got Zeke. They got Pollard. They have one of the most talented wide receiver groups in the league. And we've said it before. If Dak Prescott cannot win with this team, and especially the defense that has stepped up this season that no one thought would be this good, he cannot win now. There's no more excuses.
Yeah. I'll again, everybody knows my thoughts about it. We were talking about it just a second ago, and I'm gonna just agree with this Cowboy fan that we're talking to here, Jackson, and I think that it makes sense. A lot of Cowboy fans are a little worried going into this playoffs. They're not confident, and I think there's a few teams out here that I think should be confident coming into the playoffs, and I think one of them is Green Bay. I think Green Bay fans are very confident, and I think they should be. And I think that the other confident teams out there should be Tennessee. Tennessee should be fully confident. Absolutely, they're getting Derrick Henry back. They've been winning without having to worry about that at all. And now they were really worried. I think a little fans were a little scared. They were like, "We don't have Derrick Henry. What do we have? Or is this going to change everything?" And I think that this is a huge confidence team. Tennessee. I think Bengals are a huge confidence team going in.
They're going to go in. I think they're going to upset somebody, man.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think they're going to upset somebody. And then also you got to also think that maybe the Rams are starting to kind of maybe turn a little bit. I think their defense is actually stepping up a little bit more.
To me, if you want my true, honest opinion about the Rams, they're the least I fear in the NFC, in my opinion.
Okay.
In the top four, I'm not even talking about wild card games.
Yeah.
I feel that way because the way Matthew Stafford turns over the football. He turns over the football way too much and too often. He
was that something that happened before, or was that just
Yeah, it happened. It happened in Detroit, But we talked about that. This is the biggest acquisition in the NFL over the offseason, and that was the biggest headline or one of the biggest headline other than Aaron Rodgers drama, but was no more excuses for Matthew Stafford, right? We've given the benefit of the doubt because of Detroit Lions, and this is something I want to get into more later on in the offseason.
Sure.
Was he good enough this season?
Yeah.
With his talent.
I'm going to be paying attention to the playoffs for sure and see if maybe they can turn the ship around. I do have some small faith in the Rams. I think the Rams are just too much talent on that team to not make some noise. It's kind of the same thing I feel when it comes to even Tennessee and obviously even the Patriots. I think there's a lot of talent on that team too, and they're just not. And even like Kansas City, it surprises me because I don't fear them anymore. This season really made me not afraid of them. I think that the Broncos, even though we lost, they don't think they feared them at all. And so there's a lot of teams I think that honestly, if I were to go and say, oh, Kansas City versus Bengals, I'm going to choose the Bengals. I think something's off with Kansas City, and I don't know what it is, but I know they've been winning a lot really on the back of their defense. Obviously, we saw it yesterday. But something is not – I don't think teams are afraid of them right now. And that's maybe what we're seeing. There's too much talent on the team, but some teams are just not necessarily too afraid of Kansas City. And you see that same thing with the Rams, and I'm just like, yeah, but there's a lot of talent.
Yeah.
Like, so
and what we're going to do here is I want to do next week's episode will be about it'll be a playoff episode.
Yeah,
We're gonna go through the matchups and go where we see them going forward. So I don't want to get too much into all that because I want all that to come up next week. For those that are just listening on the podcast, we do stream live, and we just got our first comment off YouTube, and we had to answer that conversation. So thank you, Jackson Last, for that coming in.
I don't know if that was on TikTok or what was that? Who was that?
I think
maybe it was.
It may be TikTok.
Yeah, maybe.
But
I want to talk about one more breaking news topic that happened today. Everybody
happened this morning.
I got a text this morning from good old Brian, and he said something is afoot, something is erupt in the Broncos organization, and that is my boy Vic Fangio. He is, in the words of Vince McMahon,
You're fired.
What? So I'm this is what the community has been talking about for a while.
Sure, that was great.
It's I'll say this much. Look, guys, I like, as a Bronco fan, as the resident Bronco fan, here. I'm the only Bronco fan here. And on this podcast. So I like Vic Fangio. I think he's a great coach in terms of players. I think players play for him. I think that he's just an old school guy, which I appreciate. This is a guy that comes from even the good old days of what you see with Bill Belichick. He's got that old school mind and mentality. I think I think he actually coached with him at one point. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember though. There's some tie with him and Bill Belichick. And these are just old school guys. And I like, that's one of the reasons why I really liked Vic Fangio. And I thought that, oh man, this is, he's going to instill kind of that mantra of no nonsense in the locker rooms, no nonsense outside the locker rooms that the Broncos have been known for years. And it pains me because I like the defensive mind he has. And that's the main problem with the fans, is that they love his defense, but they don't love his decision making on the offense, managing the game. And we saw a little bit of it yesterday. The Broncos lost to Kansas City by 4 points. We had the game. Drew Lock was going nuts. He was throwing in some tight windows. He made some unbelievable throws. I'll say that much.
And he uses legs.
And his legs. And that's good. That's actually like a really good sign that you could see something like that. Big Fangio did mention he called out a little bit Drew Lock during the post-game conference. And a little bit, they asked him like, why have you had struggles this year against the division foes? And he said, well, we don't have a top tier quarterback. And that's
gut punch.
Oh yeah, and I'll say this much:
That's true, though.
He was never a guy who sugarcoated anything, which I loved. I don't want a coach that's like, "Hey guys, we got our guy," and I think that was always really cool about him and everything. But the game that we lost yesterday was really just a lot of mishandling, missed blocks there at the end. The fumble from Melvin Gordon was honestly, as much as it sucks to see Melvin Gordon fumble in a critical game again this year. It happened against the Steelers. It happened in this game. On this particular game, there was a miscue on offense. Nobody picked that guy up, which is insane to me.
You know who that guy was? His name is Melvin Gordon as well.
Oh, so it sucks, but it is what it is. It's the Broncos season in a nutshell. We get right to the thing, and we're almost there. We have an opportunity to win, and we mess it up somehow. And this has been this is the third season. We've had so many losses under Vic Fangio. I knew this was coming. It's just a matter of time. I had a feeling it was actually going to be very quick. I did not think they were going to drag this out. George Paton. So what is next? George Paton is now coming to grips with the fact that he has fired the head coach of the Broncos, and Pat Shurmur is also out as well. So this is the new era in Denver country and the Bronco country. This is the new era of George Paton is now going to pick his guys.
Now, if you ask me, Jeff, as far as we know, going into the next season, this is the best opening spot position as a head coach. This team right here.
Yes. So here's the short
list.
Close. It's the short list, guys. We have Dan
so
Quinn.
So far.
Yes. We have Dan Quinn. A lot of people keep talking about Dan Quinn. Again, this is a defensive-minded coach. Do the Broncos want to go down that road again? We did it with Vance Joseph. We did it with Vic Fangio. Do we want to continue trying to do this defensive-minded mindset coach type of thing? The other thing is we also have the Minnesota Vikings have a job that is now coming available for a guy that George Paton knows. He went. I think he helped coach Teddy Bridgewater. He also, I think, was one game away from a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins. So who knows what's going on there? I think again, a defensive-minded coach mindset. The other thing is you got Kellen Moore. Problem, he's never been a head coach. Now, that's a large task. You're going, can Kellen Moore be a head coach? Is it time for Kellen Moore to be a head coach? That vacancy is there. I think that Kellen Moore probably would take the opportunity, but are the Broncos willing to give him the opportunity is the question. There's no experience there. The other main thing that a lot of people aren't talking about is the Green Bay Packers OC.
Nathaniel Hackett.
Now, Nathaniel Hackett is going to get opportunities for sure. The Broncos are going to be looking at people. What better way for the Denver Broncos to really make some noise in this offseason is to get the Packers OC and lure Aaron Rodgers. This is going to be interesting. Now, what's next? And that's what Bronco fans want to know. What's next? And so this is exciting. It's fun to speculate now. Head coaching, OC, what are we going to do? What's your take, Brian?
If you ask me, Jeff, with Denver Broncos, like I said, this is the best spot to go to if you're a head coach and you have a team because they have talent. Usually when you start over with a new head coach, they've lost, they're horrible, they've been losing for years, and now you got to come in and start a complete rebuild. That's not the case here, Jeff, with the Denver Broncos. They got a really good defense, as you know. I am offensive minded. If I am the Denver Broncos, I bring in a offensive minded head coach. Even if you were to go with Kellen Moore, which I think he's up and coming, great offensive mind, or good. I wouldn't say great. He's a good. He showed flashes in Dallas at times to be really great. But even if you brought him in, you could always get a really really good defensive coordinator to balance out that where the defense is kind of the head coach doesn't have to worry about that defense, right? Like I said, Vic Fangio, I think his time was up. I don't like him as a head coach. Defensive coordinator, well, that's all he has to focus on. I could see that. I think Denver Broncos, seeing that you've done the defensive head coach, I think this is where they flip the script. They flip that script. They go get an offensive coordinator. They hire a really good defensive, DC, and I think I've always said it before. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to the Denver Broncos this season. They have a lot of money. They have a lot of talent. They can make a good trade and pay Aaron Rodgers that money. The biggest thing for Denver is finding that quarterback. That's their biggest thing. Even before not before they find a head coach, but even that's your biggest number one thing is find a quarterback and find a good head coach. Nathaniel Hackett has been offensive coordinator for Green Bay for a really long time. His name has been on fire lately about going somewhere else, getting those opportunities. I would like to see the Denver Broncos go get him, or I would also like to go see them get Eric Bieniemy out of Kansas City.
Okay.
He's their offensive coordinator there. He has time and time again shown he can win games, shown that he's offensive talented, and they keep saying this is a guy that needs a head coach.
I've heard that too. I've heard the same thing about him.
And he knows the Kansas City Chiefs. He goes to the rival, gets to face Kansas City twice a year. I would like that pickup for them, but we will see what happens. The biggest thing to me is quarterback. An offensive-minded head coach is what I would like to see for the Denver Broncos.
And a lot of Bronco fans are basically saying at this point, like, defense is stacked. We're not worried about the defense. I think that defense, they've built it for so much at this point. Foundation is there. We have very good depth. I think that honestly, in George Payton, I trust. Like in terms of drafting people and everything else, I've yet to see anything really that's questionable. He seems like an excellent drafter. And I think he will definitely find the needs we need, and tackle those opportunities as they come, whether it be through draft picks or through trades. I trust this guy. This year alone, his drafts have just been freaking phenomenal, and I can't argue at all. So I am totally on board with this new era in Denver. I'm totally on board with George Payton at the helm, and I'm, let's see what's going on next. And ownership wise, we got all these question marks. Just is Peyton Manning's group gonna come in and swoop in, and is Peyton Manning gonna basically take over John Elway's position as a general manager of president of operations or whatever, basically being the boss of George Payton. It would be interesting. I think a lot of Bronco fans definitely would want that because it makes total sense as to that being part of it, and may even be John Elway part of that group as well. And that would be pretty cool too. So there's a lot going on in Denver. There's a lot going on in this organization, and we are going to see a different team next year.
Yes,
for sure.
And that always brings us, football always continues to bring us news even during the off season. And we're always interested to see the head coach and the quarterback carousel. We had the big quarterback carousel last season. We'll see what happens this year and go from there. But all right, Jeff, we're going to go to number 4 here before we get into our last segment of what's in our locker. And this is an NBA topic here, and something that it's about dang time. Dirk Nowitzki was honored the other night as his jersey was retired, number 41, in Dallas, and they raised it into the Raptors. And also, Mark Cuban said, as promised, he promised Dirk to put a statue out there. There's going to be a statue of Dirk Nowitzki with his one-leg fadeaway shot statue. Dirk Nowitzki's famous shot that was unguardable. So It's great news to hear Dirk Nowitzki's one of the best basketball players I've seen play the game, and he deserves all the everything he's gotten throughout his career and his hard work. He deserves this definitely from the Dallas Mavericks, and
Yeah.
I think eventually he'll be probably working in the front offices in Dallas there. But
Yeah. It's it's kind of a crazy thing. It should have happened already. My opinion. I think 41 should have been retired the second he walked off the court. It's too much. He's done too much to this for this organization. They're putting a statue out. I think it's going to be out in the front of the stadium or the arena. I mean, kind of like how you have MJ in front of the Bulls arena. He's going to have one where it's the patented fadeaway shot, that he's known for. So I think that's pretty cool. And for him to get that recognition is well deserved, obviously. So yeah, this is, nobody ever thought that 41 was never going to be retired. So especially after he won a championship. But
good there for the Dallas Mavericks, Jeff. And will we see Luka's number retired there eventually? Maybe we will.
Maybe.
We'll see. All right, Jeff. Well, it is about time we wrap up this episode. We do apologize for being a little late this week. We usually do these on Fridays, but we had life happen and had to move it around here a little bit. But we're glad to get back in from the holidays, and hope you guys had a fantastic holiday season with your families. So we get back to the normal grind here of work, life, and the show here. So, Jeff, I'm gonna ask you first, brother man. What is in your locker this week?
This week is just we had so it's been a while. We had a crazy fire that took over parts of the state, and particularly like 5 miles from me. So it was pretty insane. It kind of happened suddenly. I was at work, and then 1 minute I went outside, and there was smoke everywhere, and I didn't think much about it because, I mean, sometimes we have stuff, it happens, and there wasn't any wind, so I didn't think that it was going to be that crazy. The wind picked up to 115 miles an hour. By the time I got off work, that fire spread to other parts. It got to other cities, and the problem with this is that this wasn't in the mountains. Typically, if it happens in the mountains, it's harder to get to, but it doesn't really affect us down here as much. But what ends up happening with this one is that this affected a actual neighborhood, which is so uncalled for here. Not uncalled for, but it's so unheard of in this area. You typically do not see that in neighborhoods, and that's why this one was so a little bit devastating, because in the mountains you'll have a cabin or two, you'll have certain areas that aren't necessarily well lived in, developed, that kind of thing. But the fact that this was in an urban environment was odd. They're doing an investigation. We had to evacuate that day and go to a friend's home and stay the night. It was real sudden. 1 minute it was a pre-evac, and then about 10 minutes later it was like, get out now. So it was happened pretty quickly. As we were going down the stairs, down a stairwell of where we're at, we could see the glow a little bit. So it was just like, okay, it's close. So we got out. Fortunately our stuff was saved, obviously, because I'm here. But it's, there was a lot of damage. Target was burned. A lot of homes by Target were burned, leveled. I mean, we're talking down to the foundation. So a lot of these people, they're in temporary housing. I think, the president came yesterday, I think, or Friday. They closed down some of the streets and stuff. So that he's there, I think, had to survey it and then get aid. Basically, I think they gave aid money to the state to fix and rebuild stuff and kind of bring the town of Superior back up, bring the town of Louisville back up. And that's all they could ask for, because it was just kind of sudden and quick, and you don't necessarily have to worry about fire insurance out here too much. And so I think that's another problem. So it's just kind of crazy, but that happened. We were safe. I've done another couple of interviews for work. So I'm kind of getting down to the wire, and I think I may hear something here this next week if I got the job or not. So it's pretty cool. I met with 2 different art directors in the same company, so that's a good sign. So that's cool. I did that's, and then obviously just chilling out. I've been watching some, stuff on Netflix and just kind of watching a couple of, I've watched a couple Maverick games. Pretty cool. I haven't watched basketball games in a long time. Actually, fully watched a basketball game, like not tune in and tuned out or watch highlights. I mean, actually watch the whole game. So that was pretty cool. And work, and we got some snow actually right after the day after that fire happened. We got a ton of snow, which was excellent. It's like, the sky opened up and helped everything. So we got snow, and then not too long after that, we got another dump of snow as well. We got into the single digits at one point, so it was pretty nice to see that. We hadn't had snow in a while, so it's pretty dry. I think we're supposed to get some more this middle of the week next week on Thursday. So that's good. It's starting to feel like winter here a little bit. It didn't feel like winter. I mean, it didn't get nearly as hot as you guys, but it definitely didn't. We didn't get any. We had no snow pretty much all through October, November, and even towards the end of December. So finally we did get some snow after everything, and it's good. So we seem like we're getting buildup of that, which is good. That means the mountains had it, but the foothills didn't. So I don't know what was going on there, but other than that, that's it, man. I've been playing some games. I got this new controller. I don't know if you see it or not, but
No, yeah.
it's called a Kishi, Razer Kishi, and you can put your phone in it.
Yeah.
And so you can put your phone in it, and you can remote play from your PlayStation to it,
That's cool.
And you can use it as like a Switch, like a Nintendo Switch.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. I've actually been playing a lot on that. So like sometimes I'll just be chilling out in bed and pop it out and play. I can play anything, play MLB The Show. I can, you name it. It all works. And there's a particular app, not the PlayStation one, but there's a particular app that works with the controller and everything. For some reason, the PlayStation one doesn't recognize that controller. I don't know why. So I had to find another one, and that works really well. Actually, it works better. And so, like anytime I've been playing lately, I've been playing on the Kishi. I've played Ken of Bridge of Spirits, which is pretty cool. That's an indie game. It was on sale. There's still a sale going on. So if anybody wants to take a look, there's some pretty good deals on there. I got Ken of Bridge of Spirits. I got Chivalry 2, which is, it's like Call of Duty meets medieval warfare. Which is pretty cool. I have not played it yet. I want to. And then what else did I get? I did go ahead because it was on sale. I did get Cyberpunk 2077, mainly because I know the next gen patch is coming out at the beginning of the year. So I'm waiting for that. I haven't started it up because I'm waiting for that patch to come out, and that's a free update for next gen. But yeah, I definitely want to play that, and gonna play Far Cry 6 soon. I gotta play Far Cry 6. So I'm dying. I know when I start it, it's just I'm gonna be so involved. So I'm like, okay, let me finish Ken of Bridge of Spirits probably because I know that's a shorter game, and then I'll go into to Far Cry 6 and play some of that. So, but that's it. What's in your locker?
All right, buddy. Well, we had we had a Christmas, and Christmas was good. We do Christmas usually with my family, and then New Year's Day we usually do Christmas with my wife's family, and she has a big family. She's 7 of 9. We have there's 28, 29 nieces and nephews. It's a big family, and we usually host it over in Mansfield. We don't host it, but David usually hosts it over in Mansfield, but he had COVID this year, so we ended up hosting it at our house, and it was an event. So we had a lot of people. We had a lot of mouths to feed, and everyone pitched in, and it turned out to be a really good time, just hanging out and playing games and being with family, and it was actually just went way better than I expected, and great times when you really like your in-laws and your family. So we had that. I got my taste back for the most part. So I'm grateful for that. Me and the wife, we went on a date last night. We went to I haven't been there. We went to Red Lobster. I haven't been to Red Lobster in ages. Went there last night. I like Red Lobster. It's, cheap seafood or cheaper seafood. We ate, we scarfed that down, and we went and saw the new Spider-Man movie, which was fan-freaking-tastic. If you haven't seen it yet, Jeff, go see it. It is it's up there with one of my favorite Marvel movies of all time. Fantastic. I'm not no spoilers here, but go watch it. And then I have, if you don't already know, guys, we are on TikTok. If you're watching us live, we do live stream up in the right corner here. We live stream to YouTube. We are on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. We live stream to Facebook as well. Soon enough, we need to get the Twitch on here as well. But I got a new TikTok page I'm starting. It is called the Outspoken Food Reviews.
Yes.
And I'm gonna start doing food reviews of different places, different things that I eat, and rate them as well. So I've seen a lot of people do that. I was like, that's something I can do. I love food. I'm a foodie, and so look forward to that to get starting. I'm still working on. I've been working on trying to get a logo. Like I've been kind of messing with some things on the what's that thing that you told me to download that we did? What I've been
Adobe Express.
Yeah, so I've been working on that with some different things. So and trying to figure out a good logo for that. But that is a page I started on there as well, and look forward to that as well going forward. So
yeah, we can collaborate on that too if you want to. That way we can kind of get an idea, a sense of kind of style wise and stuff. But yeah, it's super cool that you're doing that, and yeah, I mean, we just there's been
it's been a while since we've been on
the
holidays and stuff. So we
holidays, crazy events, fires,
yeah, all that good stuff. But another episode down. We're about to get off here. I got some friends over that just showed up right now. Play some backyard games, cook some hamburgers. The Packer game's on right now, but this week's really means nothing to my team, so I haven't really been paying much attention. I do know Devontae Adams did break Jordy Nelson's single season yards record, so he's now holds the most yards in a single season for the Green Bay Packers. So congratulations to him. But
as it currently stands, it is 13-14. And we are in the second quarter, actually 16 seconds left in the second quarter. So we are going in halftime, and the Lions have the ball with 16 seconds left. So whatever.
Mason Crosby missed an extra point like an idiot. And like I said, we put our starters in today. And it was very controversial, but I don't want them to sit out 2 weeks. We got the bye next week.
Yeah.
So I like it as long as we don't get hurt. If we get hurt, then gosh dang.
I think if you take a commanding lead, it's like, okay, let's go ahead and maybe let up a little bit and take some people out. But
I think second half, just throw out Jordan Love.
Yeah.
David Bakhtiari's back. He started this week. He started today. It's the first time since the last playoffs where he tore his ACL. So he's back. It's huge. We're getting our offensive line back. Pretty much. I mean, we got our starting center back this game as well, and we're getting healthy in time for the playoffs. Fantastic time to get healthy, Jeff. Get some fresh legs in there, but
yep.
All right, guys. Well, hope you have a fantastic week. Feel free to download us on our podcast page if you're not watching live. We do watch. We do stream live to YouTube, Facebook, and we need to get Twitch up there, Jeff. Pretty soon.
I have Twitter. I have Twitter up there. My Twitter. So
we do have Twitter as well. And then we do the podcast, and we do it through Buzzsprout, but it is on any podcast platform, Apple Music, Google Music, not Google Music, doesn't exist anymore. Google Podcasts,
yes,
and many, many more. Spotify, iHeartRadio, and iHeartRadio. We're actually under Watson's playbook still. I don't know why. So I
Maybe
go
we
in
can fix that.
and try and fix that. But
if you want to know the description, it's in the description. So go ahead, and if you're watching, just click the link, and then it'll actually take you to your preferred destination of choice. So it will take you to a site, and you can go to your preferred platform of choice and click the links to those platforms and find out where our podcast is located in case you don't want to search it. And sometimes that can be a headache. So just click the link and then it'll take you right to where to go to download this. So yeah. And I haven't been streaming a lot of game stuff lately, but I probably will sometime soon. So, but yeah, everything is good to go, and we're getting into playoffs. It's going to get heavy here next week. So get prepared. We're going to get some good games. We're going to get some large. I have a feeling that we're going to get a bump up in people downloading podcasts and probably watching the podcast, because a lot of people are going to be talking about the playoffs for sure. This is going to be a playoffs to remember, people.
So
I swear it.
Next week's episode, we will do a playoff edition, and my buddy Ryan wants to come on and do an episode with us or with me.
Sweet.
So I don't know when. I'll have to try and figure out when we can do that. But he is a Cowboys fan, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah. Anyways, have a fantastic week, guys, and God bless.
Take care, everybody.